Hey, hey, everyone. It is Miss Flo, and you are listening and watching to your now favorite podcast, Go with the Flow. Now, if you are new to the Go with the Flow experience, this is a podcast where I talk about anything and everything that I want because it's my show. So, first of all, happy St. Patrick's Day if y'all celebrate that. Um, I recently saw a post that taught me something new about St. Patrick's Day. We always had this assumption that it's like surrounded around Irish pride and how St. Patrick was the one to bring Christianity to Ireland, but it was a little more darker than that in terms of how they were also getting rid of pagans in the last bit of pagans. Was more surrounded about genocide. So, yeah, little dark history for you. But to be honest, like I mostly just celebrate because green is my favorite color, and I have any excuse to wear green. Feel free to still like. I think like today it definitely more so represents Irish pride for silence. But today I will be going solo. Unfortunately, Ziggy wasn't feeling well, and Marcel has started a new job, which is, very exciting. So his hours are a little different, his availability is a little different. I hope that Ziggy gets well soon, and I'm just excited for Marcel and to see where things will go for him. Don't forget to follow him on his socials. And if you need, he still does commissions if you are interested in doing that. So please reach out to him. I'll make sure his IG is in the description. I hope you guys have had a very interesting week. I know I have. It's very busy as a school teacher, as you know. I had some, this was very new, and I'm gonna just share this off the bat. So, me as a digital media teacher, journalist teacher, traditionally when it comes to events, I'm usually the person that they call to like cover it, photograph, record, things like that, do stories for. Um, but this time around, with the latest school production that we're working on, I have become more hands-on in the actual production process, like to help with the lighting and sound cues. Um, and it feels really good to really connect more in the fine arts department, and really be a part of those conversations and really to see just all the challenges that they had to go through to really put on this show. We have pushed it back so many times, whether it is a whole bunch of field trips that didn't have enough time in the first place. Like it's a lot, and it also dealing with only a finite amount of students that are willing to really put on the show and contribute to it. So, but to like really be in the mix of it all and just really do what I can to make this, show happen. Um, it's just been really exciting. So I hope when it comes to like it'll be on this Tuesday, fingers crossed. And I hope that everything goes smoothly. I'm very proud of the students who are in it. I'm very proud of my team because I decided to have my students, do a story like what does it take to produce a show at our school. And so far from what I could see, because I have been like on the ground floor with them, like in our auditorium, we have like the booth that's up in the auditorium, like way up high, so I have a bird's eye view of everything that's going on in the auditorium, and I definitely see most of my students really doing what they can to get the story. It's just a little daunting because it's such rehearsals could be very long and a lot going on. Um, but I'm excited to see what comes of it. It's been an interesting learning experience. I'm even learning something new with working with the stage lights and the soundboard, and I hope the students really gain a lot from it. So yeah. Whew. But it was also good for me because I took today off. I didn't go to work today. Um, just solely because one, I didn't have classes in the morning whatsoever. They're still doing interventions to prepare students for the upcoming SAT and park testing, and I wasn't assigned anywhere. And we also had a teacher wellness day. So we would get out at 1 o'clock. So I was just like, well, there's no point in me going in the building at all. Like I could just take a day. And in the past, like I've really pride myself in being Mrs. No days off. Like just really always being in the building, being there for my students, and really just going gung ho a lot of the time. But if you've been listening to the podcast and you know that I had a pretty bad mental breakdown in the beginning of the school year. So, and, and that was pretty heavy. And after I got some help from a psychiatrist, she really opened my eyes. It's like, it's okay to really take some time for myself. It's not a selfish act. It's something of like self-care. And granted, I didn't really like go anywhere. Like I visit my parents and help them out with a few things, but it's just good to not just to have like a break and separate from the work I do. Love my students, love what I do, but it can be very overwhelming at times. So really just have the chance to just have some time to myself, sleep in, get some rest, enjoy some other interesting podcasts, whether it's listening to Jason Lee, Drink Champs, Godfrey, things of that nature, just to really unwind and just be to myself, which was really, really good. Um, and this brings me to my next point. Like I saw another post where California maybe having 4-day work week. And I made a post about it. You could, check it out in the Wire Vibes DC for more details. But I'm just like, that should be a federal thing at this point. There have been so many studies on how important it is for us to have a work-life balance and, self-care. But I don't want to hear like, oh, this generation is soft, they can't handle a 5-day work week or things like that. Like, no, there has to be a 4-day work week. Like I get sense from everybody around me, whether it is as an educator, student, or anybody else that's working in the profession, like everybody is tired, exhausted, dealing with a variety of mental health issues. So it's like at this point, what is the harm in just having a 4-day work week? Studies have shown like when employers implemented that, their employees are happier, they are just in they're just they become more productive when they have more rest. So like it sounds like it's a win-win. I don't know what the holdup may be, But I think that's something that we may have to look into because something has got to change. I don't think anybody is truly 100% mentally well. So to have a 4-day work week would be a godsend. And maybe that could be President Biden's next executive order. But right now, the most recent one that he's done, I'm the most proud of, is that he recently put in an executive order to fight against gun violence, and that's implementing background checks. Actually, there is a lot to this executive order. Let me pull this up real quick because when I saw this and I shared this with my students because we're in a group chat together, like this is huge. For decades, the National Rifle Association has had such a chokehold on Congress that in the midst of all the mass shootings that we have had in the past decade, nothing was really being done. Nothing. Like when 9/11 happened, there were immediate changes in our security at the airport. Like, take our shoes off. We have to get body scans. There were tougher immigration and like border control and all of that. Like all of that happened when we dealt with this like major tragedy. We deal with gun violence every day in this country. Every day. And it's just been ignored. We get thoughts and prayers and you know, politicians just showing up to the city, meeting with the family, but at the same time when the victim's family show up in front of Congress and is just begging, like, do not let their loved one's life be in vain, and asking for common sense gun laws. They s- Politicians says they said no to their face. We have had young people march in the streets, like begging and pleading for the powers that be to value their life and do something. But it just sat on deaf ears. It got blocked so many times, and Biden was like, you know what, enough is enough, and he implemented this executive order. So he passed it like he this past Tuesday. Here's what the measure includes. So increasing number of background checks by working with the Attorney General to ensure checks that sometimes get missed, implementing red flag laws. If you don't know what it is, like the red flag laws allow a court to temporarily remove access to firearms from someone determined to be at risk of harming themselves or others, improving public awareness, accelerating reporting of ballistic data, accelerating the enactment of a bipartisan Safer Community Act, gun violence reduction legislation signed by our president last year, and encouraging the Federal Trade Commission to report on how gun manufacturers market firearms to people. That's included with the executive order. And I think this is definitely the step in the right direction, especially like we just had a shooting near my school on Minnesota Avenue. And it wasn't during the school day, it was like after school, but I was still with my after school team and we had to lock down, like nobody could really leave. the building until it was, somewhat clear, but we had a shooting. And, you know, once we were, able to go and you're walking down the street and you're walking past the crime scene tape, the onlookers just witnessing the chaos. You see the police, the detectives doing their jobs, looking for evidence. For what I saw, I didn't see the shooting victim there. I don't know the status of the shooting victim. I don't know their age or like who it may be. I pray it wasn't one of our students. All I saw was just a jacket on the ground and then, detectives examining it, and I'm just like, this is, this is the type of environment that our students have to come across nearly every day. And it's scary because like I said, it happened after school. So like our kids would be on our way home, you know what I mean? They'd be trying to get something to eat. We have a plethora of stores in the area. I want our students to be in constant fear of their lives. I don't want them to have to go because we've seen it. We have lost students, current and former students, to gun violence. And it is absolutely heartbreaking. Even if I didn't know the student, I weep for my students that know them. Or even if they didn't know the students, it still hurts because that sense of innocence, or like when you're young, like you have this false sense of immortality. Like you feel like, nothing's really gonna happen to you until like you're way older. But then when like you lose someone so young as a teenager, like close to your age, like it's absolutely like that innocence is instantly gone. And then you just hear the pain in their voice because we had to do memorial videos and obituaries, you know, um, for the ones we lost, and you hear the pain in their voice, like they just rivers of tears. It's hard to see them go through that. Heartbreaking, so I'm glad that Joe Biden has, President Joe Biden has really took the steps to do this because it really felt like nothing was being done for a long time. Um, but I believe like the next step is like when are we gonna see the ban on assault rifles? Because like I don't, some people say you're trampling on my Second Amendment right. Saying people need to defend their homes and defend themselves. A handgun can do that just fine. You do not need an AK-47. That is a weapon of mass destruction. People in the military could tell you like they do not want to see the weapons they carry in the battlefield being carried in the streets of their hometown. They don't. They seen what they could do to a body and the level of devastation it could bring. That does not need to be in the hands of a civilian. Else you're gonna like, oh, what if an intruder comes in? You do not need to handle an intruder with an assault rifle. How bad is your aim? And you're gonna tear up your house. Is that covered by your insurance? I don't think so. So I think like the next thing that I would like to see is an assault rifle ban, or like several something got in ban on extendo clips as well. So hopefully that'll be coming in the near future. Um, but yeah, this news really gave me some sense of hope because we've been dealing dealing with some ills with some of the laws that are being passed in this country, as you saw in the last episode. If you didn't, it's okay. It's about to be posted up on YouTube so you can watch it. There's been an attack on the gay community, trans community, and it's all in a distraction from the real issues. And I'm glad that President Biden kind of brought us back with reality and gave us some good news for us to really work with. So all I want is just like a safer place for my students, especially my seniors, as they getting closer to graduation and eventually you'll be out in different states that may not have had these type of laws implemented. So it's good to see him really, you know, kind of step forward. All right, on to some brighter news. Last weekend, we had the Oscars, and I'll say this, like, it's been a while since I watched an award show. I didn't watch it, but I was staying tuned on Twitter for the results. What it is, like, I kind of lost my like the interest in actually watching live the Oscars, and this was even before the infamous slap last year, which we're going to actually talk about later in the show. But I don't know. I guess for me, when it comes to the Oscars, their taste in movies is way different than mine. You know what I mean? I feel like there are other movies that probably should. I mostly watch. I'm like I'd say this. I'm a superhero movie. There are a few things I may watch outside of the Marvel DC. Like I said, I watched. Ooh, Luther. We can talk about that next week because oh my God, that was so good. But there are a plethora of other movies and material that I have watched, and I feel like it doesn't align with this whatever standards the Oscars have. And mostly, like, I didn't really see people like me, or like that look like me being represented. So like, I never was really like interested. But with Angela Bassett, being recognized for her outstanding performance in a supporting role in Wakanda Forever got me really excited because I was like, she was winning the Golden Globe, she won NAACP, I believe a Critics' Choice Award. So it really did look like this was going to be her night. I was at the edge of my seat, like paying attention, like, did she get it? Did she get it? Did she get it? Unfortunately, no. She didn't get the Oscar. And if you saw the clip when they announced Jamie Lee Curtis, which what I just want to say, I don't want to take anything away from Jamie Lee Curtis. I didn't get a chance to see everything everywhere at once, but it's gonna be on my watch list. So I can't really say whether or not she gave a better or worse performance than Miss Bassett. Um, but what I can speak on from the performance that I saw Miss Bassett give was truly powerful. Like the moment she gave that iconic monologue, I was like, she better get an award for this because you felt what she was saying. And when she didn't get it, and you saw like her face and level of disappointment because like it felt like that was her night. I just want to say, and I mentioned this in the post, like the night that happened. is that this doesn't take away it doesn't take away anything from what she accomplished. He is the one that made the Academy recognize the level of acting that happens in these Marvel movies. These superhero films, some people just put it in the action category. You know what I mean? Like the Academy just recognize um superhero movies for like makeup, maybe even music or costume, things like that. And Wakanda Forever did win best costume. So there's that. But it was Miss Angela Bassett that made the Academy see how powerful these performances can be on screen and not to just take it as just a simple action film. Like these were like you feel for the characters. Like it's not just a thrill, like we cry at this movie, not just because of like I just keep saying like so much, Jesus. It wasn't solely because this movie was paying tribute to Chadwick Boseman and they were saying goodbye to him in the movie and paying tribute. It's a little bit, it was like so much more to that. If you watched any Marvel, it will make you laugh, it will make you cry, it will keep you on the edge of your seat, it will keep you guessing. Like these are powerful stories people can relate to, and they deserve to be recognized at on the grandest stage in Hollywood. So I don't think we should see this as so much as a loss because Miss Bassett truly opened doors. Oh my God, I lost a nail. Miss Bassett, you did your thing. You did a thing. And I don't think that's something that nobody can really take away from you. When we look back at this years later, and when the next actor, actress comes along that wins or eventually win an Oscar for their performance in a superhero movie, they are going to shout you out. They will, and I wholeheartedly believe that for sure. Okay, let me go back to the nails. So, like, I wanted to say because I have a big thing about nails because I feel like that's my whole thing to connect the nails to the outfit that I'm wearing. I'm using Kiss Impress where it has like the little sticky tabs instead of the glue. And I would truly hate those so much. But I love the designs that they have. My pinky and my index on my left hand, I have lost these nails like several times today. Right hand has been doing fine, everything like I don't know, like I did the process, cleaned it with the the little alcohol wipe and filed it down. I did the little tip that Trixie Mattel, because she will say like the tabby glue, the nails with the sticky tabs work. I did what you said, Trixie. It hasn't. It's been a battle, and I didn't plan to wear this like for the 7 day long wear because again they're green. It's for St. Patrick's Day, but it's the fact that like I'm losing it like several times. It makes absolutely no sense. Um, so I'm just upset. Sorry. But let me get back to the swing of things. I would think we also got like another snub. People were upset that Rihanna and Lady Gaga didn't win Best Song. livid. Now, like again, when we saw that Rihanna was making new music and it was for Wakanda Forever, and we heard like "Lift Me Up," there wasn't a dry eye in the house. Like everybody felt her performance. We were happy to see her back. We were happy to see her back in the Super Bowl. She performed at the Oscars, looking spectacular, being lifted up physically. First of all, I was so nervous when I don't know why she wants to be so high while being pregnant. I'm pretty sure like safety guards are in place, but it just makes me a little bit nervous. And then Lady Gaga really stripping down to perform her song from Top Gun. Like a lot of people were upset, but it was I wrote it down like who won. And I'm gonna say we can't be, even though our pick didn't win. I think what we've been advocating for the Oscars to be more inclusive and like diversity still won. Like nobody really heard of the song Natu Natu, which translates to dance dance. From I guess this movie RRR. I listened to it. It's not bad. It's like it's a nice song. You know what I mean? I didn't hate it. I thought it was good. I would play it for you, but I don't want to risk a copyright strike. Um, but I thought it was I listened to it. I thought it was nice. And Hindi music, Bollywood, that whole culture. Like we in the hip hop community. I'm saying we, like I'm like truly immersed in it, but like in the hip hop community, we have used like Hindi music, incorporating the beats using the trap. So like there are bops, there's some bangers with that. And like this, I heard the song earlier, and it was nice. So I'm glad that they won. Like I said, like when somebody else wins, a lot of people feel like Rihanna and Lady Gaga got snubbed. But like I said, it was a big win for diversity. Like the Asian community won this night. You know what I mean? And that's huge because they were a marginalized community that really wasn't taken seriously in acting. And you had and then say, and I'm talking about like what of course, everything everywhere all at once. Wept. Wept. Like they had the biggest broom in the room and swept. And to hear some of their acceptance speeches, like the biggest comeback story of, you know, from one scene, like they didn't see a place for them in Hollywood, with them old enough being, with some of the actors being old enough to see their people being mocked on screen through yellow face, but had gotten to the point where, okay, their community is being seen and respected, and they feel now that there is a place for Asians in Hollywood. That is a huge thing. And me, even being like as a black person, like I felt that because I had that same notion as to why I don't really pay attention to the Oscars, because you don't really see too many people. Like, see, like there was a time like a few years ago we were calling like Oscars so white because a lot of tremendous black actors weren't getting their recognition for their tremendous roles. And and I really felt their speeches for her to say, but this is for all the little girls that look like me. I felt that with her speech, and that made me feel good. I really want to put the movie on my watch list. It could, and yeah, this was a story of not just like their people being seen, but like so many uh comebacks, in Hollywood. Like for I want to say Mr. Kwan, who I primarily recognize from the Goonies, grew up like watching that movie, and for him to just truly have this vulnerable moment and just say like, "Mom, I won an Oscar." It's a feel good moment. And that I'm glad that he was able to see, like to hear his story, like he almost gave up on his dream. He thought it was impossible for him to make it, even though he's been in a few movies, but it wasn't like at a grander scale as some of his white counterparts. And for him to be on the grandest stage, that is beautiful. It really is. And then for Michelle to be the hold the statue in her hand and just all her grace and just really pushing for young girls like her, just saying like you can make it in Hollywood, like this could be you, anything is possible. It made me smile. It really did. Like even though my girl Angela, didn't win supporting actress, I'm happy for Jamie Lee Curtis, and everything. But it felt good to see another community to be seen and for them to create a pathway for the next generation in their community in Hollywood. Like that's a truly feel good moment, you know? And that's always really good to see. The next big groundbreaking moment in Oscars is that we have James Martin, who's making history. He is the first person with Down syndrome to be awarded an Oscar. He won for his role in a short film. Hold on, I want to make sure I get this right. It was a short film, live action film, an Irish Goodbye. And this also, like, I'm just a big softie. Like, this really warmed my heart too because I also work with students that have disabilities or learning disabilities or some other physical disability, and I feel what they're capable of doing. I know that I can push them enough so they can create something, whether it's a news story, a great photo, things of that nature, and for know what I could get them to do. But I feel like because they have that label, other people may not take them as seriously or may not even try to push the envelopes. And so to see someone like James Martin to be recognized on a grand stage, that's pretty cool. Like that's amazing. And I'm truly happy for him. And again, it's laying down the path so that other people like him can be seen. Again, just another beautiful moment. So there's some beautiful moments at the Oscars this year. There was no drama, but the effects of what happened last year still lingers. Like even Jimmy Kimmel made a joke about it towards like the beginning of the Oscars, um, with, saying, we have security protocols in place. Like if anybody tries to come on stage and attack me, like I have Creed, cut to Michael B. Jordan. Or, I got Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield, things like that, and just making a bit fun of it. And it's kind of interesting because we just had Chris Rock's live Netflix special where he finally talks about what happened. And interesting enough, his whole special wasn't around that. Like he didn't really talk about the Oscar slap until the end of the show. So, before I dive too much into it, like, okay, so the special was called like Selective Outrage. Interesting title, and he kind of it comes full circle to the explanation of the special. Um, Let me just say this before I give like my 2 cents on it. For Chris Rock to do a live comedy set is pretty very bold because that means like no matter what he says, no matter what he do, it's nothing edited and post. It's pretty much whatever he said, he said. It's out there, everybody saw it. It's gonna stay up there. There's no take backs. It's like it's just blocked. It's just out there, right? So with his special, like I said, he didn't make his entire comedy special about what happened to the Oscars. Like he, you know, talked about several other things, whether hold on, it was a lot. So I definitely took notes on this. Um, Lord, okay. He went into rants about like woke traps, trying not to trigger anyone. Um, Talks about like selective outrage, like comparing Michael Jackson to R. Kelly, which was very weird because Michael Jackson's situation was alleged. He was never convicted. Um, I just talk about like white men seeing themselves or like playing victims, especially into talking about the riots. Talks about like his daughter and humbling her and making sure that she doesn't abuse her privilege and really working to like humble her because she was so adamant that she wouldn't get in trouble or kicked out of school for what she did. But like Chris Rock was very adamant at making sure she did get kicked out so that she would get her act together and be in a culinary school in Paris, which was lovely. Um, Kind of went on Meghan Markle a little bit, was chastising her because she spoke out against the racism that she was experiencing as being part of the royal family, and basically saying like, yo, what do you expect? It's the royal family. Um, mm, and like I said, like he held nothing back when it came to Will Smith, and kind of pointed out a lot of what people already speculated with Will Smith, right? Like when we first saw the slap, like it is not just about what Chris said and that the G.I. Jane joke, right? It's more so like the other level of embarrassment that he felt Jada when it was like exposed that Jada cheated on him August, and then they had this whole red table talk discussion. Like Chris Rock showed no. Well, okay, let me tell you this before like I go into like how he went on Will Smith. Chris Rock has every right to feel what he feel, you know what I mean? Because he was embarrassed on a grand stage. You know what I mean? It's the Oscars. It is something that has been replayed a million times, if not billions, right? Plenty of people have made jokes about it. My students were making jokes about it. We had like when we had some detailed discussions about this too. Um, because it was just so, devastating. Like I don't want to go. Okay, a lot of people felt traumatic about it, but or like felt that it was traumatic. A lot of people, a lot of people's anger. I would say this: when the slap first happened, it was such a divisive issue that was like split three ways, not just two. Like it was like split three ways. So one, people were applauding Will Smith for defending his wife. Other people said that Will Smith was a punk for doing that because you know, uh, that he is bigger than Chris Rock and that Chris Rock wasn't really in a position to really fight back because again, it's an Oscars. It is a huge event. It's like, you know what I mean? He's like in a position where he can't really fight back, right? Um, then you have people blaming Jada, saying apparently she puts a spell or whatever, or she made Will do it, or that she was getting a lot of backlash because clearly she can't take a joke. She didn't get up and slap him. Um, you know what I mean? Or like kind of making fun of her condition, saying, "Well, it's not cancer, so what are you crying about?" Those type of comments, right? Like I said, like Chris has every right to be mad and still be mad because that is a level of humiliation that is hard for anybody to come back from, you know? Um, with that being said, he was valid and with some of the things that he was saying, like he kept calling Will Smith a bitch. Um, well, okay, so it's going back to, let me rewind. But going back to like his message, selective outrage, it was like, well, basically he was saying like, where was this same energy when people were calling you a bitch for still being with Jada, um, being on a you being chastised for being basically being cheated on and not really divorce her or whatever, like or being made fun of because of the entanglement. Um, you know, uh, it is very weird. Like and also like the one thing like I really didn't like about it is that again he's blaming Jada, saying something like that she started it because with like the Oscar being so white and she came for. Because it's like, why are you hosting or participating in the Oscars when they're not including like your people and saying like, well, she's the one that started. I didn't start it like and finished or whatever. I'm like, okay, that was some years ago. And I think like at some point like he called Jada a bitch, and I was just like, again, she's being targeted for something that he didn't do. She is not responsible for controlling this man. Will Smith is grown. He is a grown adult. We all know that he's battling some demons because, like, in his book, like, his issues with his father and even admitting, like, he had thoughts of, like, killing his father. So, like, we understand Will Smith had some demons. So, I guess from me perspective, it's like, okay, we have grown adults that can't settle their differences. I mean, none of this could have been handled like backstage, like this. All is being played out in the public eye. Like I said, I'm not defending Will Smith's actions whatsoever. I think, like I saw somewhere, I can't remember where, but it's like Will Smith never really apologized to Chris. He apologized for his actions and what he did, like in public, but he never directly apologized to Chris, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's like what I heard. And I'm just like, it's so weird because like y'all basically came up in Hollywood together. All y'all like around the same time, worked together before. So it's just like this can't really be resolved, you know, in a like civilized, healthy manner. You know what I mean? Um, then you have okay, so then Chris closes out with saying that the reason why he didn't retaliate or like physically fought back was because his mother taught him not to fight in front of white people, and it just like closes out. And I'm just, granted, I understand why, and and this was echoed a lot around the time that it happened. Is just like we don't want to project a negative image of our people because people will run with it for ever. Like, see, this is why we don't invite y'all to nothing because y'all can't act right, or that type of thing. Um, it's very hard to. There's just so many layers to this. Like I said, like I don't. The joke wasn't for Jada wasn't really funny, and she had the right to like you know roll her eyes at it. You know what I mean? Um, wish that Will could have handled this situation better because like he won an Oscar that night. You know what I mean? Um, and that took away from so many other great things that happened at the Oscars last year. Um, it's just sad to see a great comedian, a great actor, just like people that we can still consider um top in their field with our skin tone, and they can't like really resolve this. It's a lot to process, and I think it's still a lot to process for people. I mean, Will Smith reacted to the special, said that he was deeply hurt by it. But I feel like he's just gonna have to kind of sit through that the same way Chris had to sit through what Will did to him. So hopefully that I don't know, this is like if the scales are balanced to the point where both men can truly move on from it. Um, and I hope that their actions and how they're carrying on doesn't deter or sway people to not invite people of color in those spaces because we've been blocked out for so long. And we have a new generation that's coming up that we know they're super talented that idolize both of these men. So let's hope that this incident doesn't really define the next generation and doesn't like cost major opportunities. That's what like I truly hope for. I hope both men find healing. Um, but yeah. Um, thank you so much for watching tonight's episode, it's not today. Clearly I need more rest. But thank you guys so much for watching this show. Like I said, if you missed some of the live stream, don't worry. The recorded show will be posted on my YouTube channel, The Why Vibes DC. Make sure that you follow me on all social platforms of the same name on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. I really want to make sure that our audience grows, so please make sure that you like, share, and comment. I want to hear from you guys and make sure that you are participating in the conversation. I want to hear what you guys think. And of course, you can't go wrong when you go with the flow. If you're 21 and over, have a safe St. Patrick's Day. Don't go overboard and make sure that you make it home to your loved ones. I will catch you guys next week where I talk about my hair journey and some of the trending news topics of that week. So I'll catch you guys later. Bye.